This is Shooting Spaces with Rich Baum and Brian Berkowitz.
Hello and welcome to Shooting Spaces. This is Brian Berkowitz from New York.
And Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
And thank you everyone for tuning in for another great episode. We have a fantastic guest this week, but before we begin, let's banter for a bit. Rich, what's going on with you? I heard there's a lot of storms, a lot of winds out there in the West Coast.
No, not storms. These are thermal winds. I'm a windsurfer and kiteboarder. And for the last couple of weeks, 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, it's been 25 to 30 miles an hour. And we love that high wind. And it's funny because you've got it. Not funny that you're having a hurricane come in, but not a hurricane. It's a tropical
I don't know
storm.
what we have, but we have something going on. I mean, our guest can probably enhance this a little bit because he's out in my area, but I don't know what's going on outside right now.
It's a tropical storm.
Out here on Long Island is really bad. Winds flying everywhere. But
what you consider windy is like, I'm like, oh, bring it on. So it's been great.
All right, but let's get right into it because we have a lot to discuss today. Before we begin, let me say a quick word from HD Photo Hub. Provide your clients with the convenience of online ordering and scheduling with HD Photo Hub's new smart scheduling system built specifically for real estate photography businesses. With HD Photo Hub, you'll save precious admin time with an all-in-one system to deliver your images, videos, 3D scans, and property marketing kits, along with the built-in client invoicing, order management, photographer payroll, and so much more. Check out hdphotohub.com to find out more. Again, that's hdphotohub.com. And with that, I guess let's introduce our guest, who is Cody Boone, out of originally California and a recent transplant to New York. So Cody, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here.
So, as you know, we are experiencing I don't know if you have this in New York because we're probably about 15 miles from each other, but we have out here on Long Island a pretty bad storm going on out there.
It literally came out of nowhere. It was sunny, super hot today, and then now it's like pouring outside, super windy. I haven't been outside recently, but I can hear it, and everyone's like, "You're gonna get caught in the storm on my way home." So,
yeah. Anyway, so why don't you give everybody first before we get into it, tell everyone where they can find you, whether your website or Instagram, so people can kind of look up what you're doing and see some of your work if they want to take a look while they're listening along.
Yeah, for sure. So Instagram is like my primary source of getting things out, and that's just at cody.boone. But I also have a website, codyboonemedia.com, and that's where you can find most of my real estate work, architecture work, and stuff. But for every day-to-day life and the stuff that I do with Serhant, that's all on my Instagram at Cody Boone.
All right, cool. So you mentioned Serhant, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And that's part of one of the reasons we wanted to have you on was because most of the people we discuss and talk with on the show have their own small businesses, but you work for, I guess, a brokerage, you can call it. And, one of the biggest brokerages out here in New York with probably one of the biggest broker personalities for sure in the country, maybe the world. So we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's take a step back and talk about how you started and got into the industry, because I know you're fairly young. And you did this I think you did this in California, where you're originally from, correct?
Yep, I did. Yeah. So for context, I'm 18 years old. So I started.
You're more than fairly young.
Yeah. So I started shooting.
Fairly legal.
Basically, yeah. I started shooting real estate my junior year of high school. So I was 16 at the time. I was in the marching band of my high school playing drums and everything. I thought it was cool, but it wasn't really something that I wanted to do outside of high school, like after I was finished. And I've always been into photography and video and making videos with my friends and taking photos of my friends and stuff like that. And so I knew that was always something I was passionate about. And that I had a pretty good skill at. And around my junior year of high school, I started seeing Instagram videos and YouTube videos of people shooting properties in Newport Beach and Laguna Beach and these really cool places right on the water. And I just kept seeing them, and I was like, I feel like I could do something like this. I grew up watching HGTV with my dad and stuff, and so I always had like an eye, I guess, for design and real estate, and I just loved it. And so it was a good place for me to kind of slide in. And my first my first real estate shoot was a video shoot in Newport Beach at this place right on the water. I got super lucky because one of my best friends, her parents managed the rental of that property too. So I was able to just say, hey, I think I might want to start shooting real estate. Can I shoot this house for you? And if you guys like it, you can use it on your Airbnb and VRBO and everything. And they're like, sure. So I went there one day and I borrowed every single piece of gear I could. I borrowed a stabilizer from the video teacher, which I didn't even take a video class in high school. I went up to him, never met him before, and I was like, hey, this is what I do. This is what I'm trying to do. Can I borrow this? And he said, yeah, he was a cool guy. And then I borrowed the cameras from my photography teacher, who I'm super close with. And then I borrowed a drone from my friend who just bought like the original Mavic Pro. And so took all that to the beach and made this really, really bad video tour out of it. It was like 4.5 minutes for this like 2,000 square foot house. It was like really overkill. I had no clue what I was doing, but I put a cool song on it, made a cool edit, and I thought it turned out pretty all right at the time. And so after that, what I did was I put like all the money I had was like $200, and I put that into an Instagram ad. And so after putting that Instagram ad and targeting it towards like the luxury market of real estate, just like luxury this, luxury that, Newport Beach, blah, 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 I was able to attract a couple agents and got some follows, got some comments from it or anything. Not any direct like ROI in the sense that people reached out immediately and wanted videos, but it was a good start. And I got into the DMs of a couple agents too. But alongside of that, what I did was I went to H&M and I bought like a super crappy suit, and I would go to open houses every single weekend. I would go on Zillow on Friday night and I would go through all the houses that I thought were really cool that I would be interested in filming. And if they didn't have a video on their Zillow page, I would just put it in my calendar. And then the next day I would go out at 10 a.m. And go to all these open houses and wait till no one was in there and say, hey, my name's Cody. I'm looking to do real estate video. I notice you don't have any videos on your Zillow page. If you do, let me explain to you how to upload it. If not, this is my video that I just made for a place in Newport Beach. I would love to do something like this for you. And so I did that like every single weekend for probably like 8 months. And I thought it was awesome. I thought it was super cool getting to drive in all these gated communities and seeing these huge houses that I've never seen before or anything. And I just like fell in love with it and like made these super crappy business cards off Photoshop and printed them at my school and passed those out and everything. And finally, a couple people took a chance on me and hired me to do some video for them. And I just kept learning from other people. I was able to get into like these Facebook groups really early on and just kind of see what everyone else was doing. And around that time too, that's when I discovered Ryan Serhant on YouTube about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And they were doing all these cool property tours and everything. And I was like, damn, that would be so sick. And so I just kept on going. And
this is your dream job then? This
is literally like my dream job. Like people ask like, oh, you're so young. What are you going to do after this? And it's like, I don't know, but I don't know yet. But yeah, I'm very, very lucky to say that like every day I'm working at my dream job, doing what I love to do. But yeah, that's like the quick synopsis on how I got started.
Well, I love that story because I mean, it's just a prime example of bootstrapping and hustling.
Yep.
You know, at 16 to work your way in, you know, go out and get some videos with no equipment, show up at open houses and shoot. I mean, you know, if
in a crappy suit.
In a crappy suit.
But you know what? It worked. And, you know, you don't see that too often anymore. People just hustling like that. So, you know, I commend you for that hustle because it got you your dream job. So
yeah, exactly. And what?
No, I was just going to ask Cody, where did you get your, who instilled that work ethic or that motivation to you? Did you get part of that from your mom or dad or
It was
Where'd you
definitely
get
my
that
dad.
from?
Yeah, it was definitely my dad. Like he's always been the hardest worker in the room and everything. And I remember like as a kid, like everyone would always say like, oh, your dad's got the best work ethic and everything. And I was like, I just growing up, I think just subconsciously I wanted to be him. And so I just like work ethic has always been something in the back of my head that I just want to work the hardest out of anyone else. And I know that by doing that, I can really do anything I want. But yeah, my dad was a really big influence on just instilling that like don't complain. You got to work if you want to get anything in life. And like you can't make excuses and stuff like that. And so got a lot of that from him. But around like the same time too, like I got into Gary Vee and I was listening to his podcasts and stuff as I was driving to all these shoots and in these neighborhoods and everything too. So I think it was like that summer of me going into my senior year of high school, like I had like a mind shift change too on just like, okay, like if this is what I want to do in the real world, I got to like snap out of it and like actually work for it. So I think like that combination of what I had from my dad and then just listening to motivational people like Gary Vee, that kind of just switched my mindset a little bit, made me realize that like I can do this. I just have to work hard and I'm going to have to make sacrifices. Like I could have been going to parties on weekends with all my high school friends, but instead I was like, no, I'm going to go to all these open houses and stuff.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. So you're shooting in LA in that area, yep. And you're building this business. So what happened, I guess, over the course of the last 6 months to a year where you were like, all right, let me see what's going on in New York or with Serhant and see, did he approach you? Did you apply for a job with him? How did that all come about?
So from like when I started to when I reached out, and it was me reaching out to Adrian, but I'll get to that in a second. I just kept going. Word of mouth helped me a ton. I think it was a lot, maybe a bit because of my age too. Everyone's like, oh, look at this young kid, you just filmed my house kind of thing. But it helped me a ton. And so I just got like that summer of 2019, I was getting really busy, and then that went into my senior year of high school. And by then I was very busy. I luckily only had like one academic class. So I was at school for maybe an hour or two a day. All my teachers knew what I was doing. If I was writing emails or editing a video inside my English class instead of listening to a college presentation, like my English teacher knew. She was like, yeah, that's fine. And by the end of the year,
you're running a business. What's she going to say?
Exactly. Yeah. And by the end of the year, I was saying like, hey, I'm going to have to leave English class 30 minutes early because I'm going to LA to shoot. And they knew, and I just like kind of stayed on top of my work, and stuff like that. And then, COVID hit in March of 2020 in my senior year. So I got out of school early technically. So I had an extra 3 months of summer because we got out in March. And it's like a little bit of a blessing and a curse. But after that, like the pandemic hit, I was like the busiest months of my life were like March, April, and May for Orange County and LA. I don't know why the market just didn't stop and it just got really, really hot.
Was it like that for you also, Rich? Rich is also from California. So.
Yeah, no, I remember March 2020, I was in Mexico and I'm looking at the stock market crashing going, I don't know, honey, maybe I don't even need to come home. Because there's just going to be no real estate. And after a couple of weeks of lockdown, we became essential workers. And that was it. It was just gangbusters all year.
Yeah, back to the races. And that just like kept me on my toes and working throughout the summer and everything. And around that time too, I was like, you know what, like this is going well. Like I know that this is sustainable for the time being. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing something that's different than other people in my area, especially video wise. And I always had a dream of moving to New York City. I've never been until I actually visited here before I moved, but I always knew it was like somewhere I wanted to be. I saw people on YouTube, Casey Neistat and everything. I was like, this is just somewhere that I would want to be. And there's like a lot of opportunity there that I knew. There's so many brands that are headquartered there and the real estate is insane. And so I just knew like maybe maybe like 2 or 3 years down the road, I'll get the repertoire and pedigree to be able to get my own clients out there, and then I'll make the leap, and maybe do something bi-coastal. But I was just like kind of rolling with the waves and everything. But April of 2020, Adrian, who's Ryan Serhant's creative director, he put something in the comments of Gary V's videographer D-Rock. He had like weekly networking posts that he would make, and it was just like the comment section was for networking. So it's like who you are, what you do, and what you need. And I was going through that one day, and Adrian commented on the post and said, "I'm a real estate media company. We're looking for a videographer to expand." And like right then and there, I was like, "Okay, I need to do this." Oh, the lights in the room just shut off. They're motion censored, but
most people listen on audio anyway. Don't worry.
Okay. And so I DM'd him. I reached out and I said, "Hey, this is all my work. Like, I would love to work with you guys. I've been following you guys for so long. This would be like the dream job kind of thing." And I didn't get a response. And looking back on it now, like that's like one of the best things that ever happened to me, because April of 2020, I was not ready to make that leap or anything like that. Like I was still 17 years old too. Mm-hmm. I was just kind of like throwing something at the wall and just saying like, who knows, maybe he'll respond. But like April of 2020, summer happened and everything, and so much happened, and then kept the business going, and I was just super busy, and everything was going well. And then October, Adrian put something else on his story saying, "Hey, I'm looking for an editor. If you're an editor or videographer, just swipe up, text me." And I did. And I literally sent him a message. And I look back on it on my DMs, like a good amount, that's literally saying, "I will 100% drop everything in California and I'll move to Manhattan and work for you." And I sent that, and it was literally on a whim. I remember like I was doing something else and I saw it. I sent it super fast, put my phone down, didn't really think of it because I didn't know if he would really respond because it didn't happen the first time. So kind of forgot about it. And then like that weekend, I went on a backpacking trip with my friend. We went up near Yosemite to hike. And we're at the top of this mountain. We're like 12,000 feet up. It's freezing, super windy. I got 2 bars of service, and I look at my phone, and Adrian DMs me back. He's like, "What's up? You film and edit?" And so I'm on the top of this mountain. I'm freaking out. My friend's like, what's going on? I'm like, "You have no idea what just happened." I was like, Adrian just DM'd me back, give him context and everything. And he's stoked for me too. But after then, I was just like, yeah, like I've been doing this for a couple of years, blah, blah, blah. He sent me a couple test edits. He's like, "I'd love like if you wanted to edit remotely and everything." And I was like, well, I'm planning to come to New York City anyway. I wasn't at the time, but I was like, I'm going to come out in like December. I would love to like meet up with you guys. And he was down. And so like that day I booked a ticket to New York. Literally never been there before, never traveled alone by myself. But I did it. And so I came December of last year, met them for the weekend, helped them film one of the listed shows, and like helped film a development pitch with Ryan and everything, and got a feel of what was going on. And then Adrian was like, "Do you want this?" And I'm like, "Let's do it." And so he was like, "You got a job if you come here." And so 30 days later, packed up my car, took a couple of friends with me, and we drove to New York from California.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey,
Exciting
Cody,
stuff.
I want to just jump in here though,
Yeah.
because I'm the one who doesn't really know who Ryan Serhant. How do you spell it? How do you pronounce his name?
Serhant.
I'm not familiar with this show. I don't have cable. I have antenna. That's okay. But just why don't you back up a second and just explain who is this guy, and just a little elevator pitch for this guy.
Yeah, of course. So Ryan Serhant, he's a real estate broker in New York City. He's been a broker for about 12 years, and pretty early on in his career, he got casted to $1 Million Listing New York on Bravo. And so that was part of his kind of claim to fame up in the spotlight. And through that, he just developed a good brand in the sense of marketing himself well, marketing his properties really well. And tied along with that, about 4 years ago, he started YouTube vlogging. And it was just straight, like almost Casey Neistat style vlogging on YouTube, just talking about what it's like to be a real estate agent and just motivational stuff too. And so he's written 2 books. The first one, Sell It Like Serhant. And then the one that just came out earlier this year is Big Money Energy. So he's got 2 books. So he's like an author, real estate broker, TV personality. And then last September, he left his old brokerage, Nest Seekers, to start his own brokerage, Serhant. And so before then, he was working for another brokerage. Now this is he's the CEO. And so this new brokerage, Serhant, it's the new brokerage, and it's really agent based. And so a lot of things we do is for the agents, because we believe if you uplift the brand of the agent itself, if everyone's brand is lifted, the whole brokerage brand is lifted in its own way as well. And so through that, just with tech and media, it's really excelled, and we're becoming one of the biggest brokerages in New York City. But by stats, we're the most followed real estate brand in the world, with over 3.5 million followers across all of platforms. And Ryan's got like 1.1 million subscribers on YouTube. And then we've got a couple other channels that are doing really well as well. Yeah, so that's a quick little summary on Ryan and the brokerage.
Well, I think what you said, is the key to all this, because, I'm in New York. I've been in New York my whole life, and most of my work is here. And I don't really do residential. Most of my work in New York City proper, or for that matter, for most of my work in general, is commercial real estate. But from when I used to do residential to even now doing commercial, most of these agents and these brokerages are so behind the tech that it's actually mind-boggling. And
it is.
When I see, a company like Serhant come in and say, we're going to be tech forward and we're going to change the game from a tech standpoint. Like, first of all, it's like, well, why is no one else doing this? It's 2021. And then, all right, at least someone's putting their foot down, because now what he's doing is he's forcing everybody to catch up. And it's great for our industry as real estate photographers if everyone starts playing catch up to tech, because that'll allow us, people who produce video, it's mind boggling for me on Long Island how few real estate agents shoot video. It's crazy. And even same thing in New York City. So hopefully he'll give a nice kick to everyone else in the ass here in New York and get everyone moving.
Definitely. And we were literally talking today, just our studios team, we're just going through strategy and how to make our videos just more impactful too. And especially like social, like we make these property tours that could go great on YouTube, but like putting them on Instagram is a whole different beast. And you have to capture people's attention in the first couple seconds and everything. And so we were talking about how property tours can be better, like made for Instagram and social and these faster paced apps and everything. And we were just talking, is like, what other brokerage makes property tour videos for every single one of their properties? And we were literally like, it took a long time to think, and nobody does that. They can do photo slideshows or voiceovers, but having an agent in front of the camera just makes way more of a difference than anything else. And so we've just established that like every single house, regardless of the price, it needs a tour. And so because of that, we have 3 different levels of property tours that we offer to the agents. You have a straight virtual tour, which is just a 1-minute branded, no agent in it, just video tour of the property. And then there's a Serhant tour, that's an agent walkthrough. So then that's when the agent introduces themselves, same like formula that Ryan's always done, and just walks through the property. Those are always a little bit longer, but there's also more detail. And then we have Serhant signature tours, which are properties 10 million and above. Then there's more of a film production aspect to it. We plan out things a lot more. Ryan gets involved, even if it's not his listing per se. And those go to Ryan's YouTube channel, and it gets spread out amongst a wider audience.
So it's a more highly produced video.
Yes.
I'd hire you guys to do my house. I tell you, that's
hey, say less. I'll come over.
And it's really about, I just want to interject really quickly. I think it's something that everybody out there, especially the people coming up as real estate photographers, have a conversation with your agents and try and have them understand the concept of, it's all about brand. I have an agent, my best agent, and we do twilights on every single house. And some houses I'm shooting twilights, I really got to scratch my head and go, how in the world am I going to make this look good? Because we do really, really high end stuff, but we also do sometimes really low end stuff. And she just doesn't care. It's just everything has a brand to it, and that's what it's all about. And I think a lot of real estate photographers can try and talk to your agents and start putting it in their ear to start doing these things, make the suggestions, because you will benefit from it. So it's
exactly.
great.
And it doesn't hurt to try something new with an agent too, because that's only going to help the photographer or the videographer more too. Just trying different things. And that's what I love to do a lot in California was doing walkthrough videos, was doing these cool like high energy videos through the property, or just taking twilight photos on a house that like no one would really care about, because you know that a twilight photo statistically gets more eyes than a regular day photo. And it's all just about building brand too. If you go to an agent's website and you see these really, really pretty twilight photos instead of these dull daytime photos, it does make a difference. And it's all about the agent just willing to make that quote investment in the beginning, knowing that it's going to pay dividends down the road a lot more than they think.
All right. Well, listen, let me break in here and just talk a little bit about our buddies over at iGuide. Are you looking to expand your real estate photography business? Stand out from the crowd by offering 3D tours, accurate room measurements, square footage calculations, and professionally drafted floor plans, all from a click of a button. And with the state-of-the-art iGuide camera system, and Brian, you're using that. Yep. The new system's great. It works in coordination with the Ricoh camera, and it's just awesome. And get your first 5 iGuides up to 3,000 square feet free by adding the code Shooting Spaces in the referral section at camera purchase. Visit goiguide.com to learn more and use that Shooting Spaces referral code. Okay.
Cool.
So,
Cody, do you guys use iGuide or Matterport or that type of thing over there?
We do not.
You do not?
What?
No, well, right now is just photos and videos. There's floor plans. I think in New York is different. It's like every listing like might require a floor plan, because I know just like Street Easy is like the Zillow of New York City, and every single property has a floor plan for that too. But that is something that we have talked about integrating too. But I mean, time will tell, definitely. But right now, like photos and video with those floor plans and everything has been doing a good job so far. But it's not off the table.
So tell me, you've been in New York now 6 months. What are your thoughts of being out here?
I love it. This is so much more like my pace. I mean, as like an 18-year-old, that would make sense too. Like a lot of people hate the energy, but for me, it's like I feed off it too, and just
move out of my way. I'm trying to get through.
yeah, exactly. And just like, and one thing I've noticed too is that like in California, there's a stigma of New Yorkers being really mean, but it's for me that I found it's like almost the total opposite. I find New Yorkers almost nicer than Californians. So I might get shade from that, but I personally think New Yorkers are really nice as long as you're like not in their way. Then they're like, get out of my way.
Yes, exactly.
He's so young, Brian. He's so young. Oh my God.
Well, look, you know what? I've been in New York my whole life, approaching 40 years this year. And I will say this year happens to be one of the strangest and oddest years to be in New York City, or any city for that matter, but more specifically New York City. And you came a little bit after, but you know, Rich, I used to tell you in New York City last summer, I would, first of all, from where I am in Long Island, the normal commute into New York City is about an hour and a half. I was getting into Manhattan in like 30 to 35 minutes in the height of the pandemic. So it was fantastic. There was no traffic, but it's just a strange time. And now things are coming back and things are recuperating. A lot of the restaurants are open again. I think almost all the restaurants are open and things are coming back.
Everything is almost back like 100%. I mean, traffic is definitely worse. Like I'm sitting in traffic almost every day, just going back and forth to shoots and everything. But like now that 30-minute time travel is not gonna work, because it takes you 30 minutes just to cross like the Brooklyn Bridge nowadays.
So you drive in New York City from shoot to shoot, I guess, because you got gear?
we take Ubers, and like thankfully those are like reimbursed by the company and everything.
You need to get a Serhant commercial van.
We were talking about that, but it's like, like
Well,
insurance.
if you get
too.
commercial
Yeah.
plates, you can park almost anywhere in New York City. So
Which is true. We had a shoot in the Hamptons a couple weeks ago, and so we had to rent a car to go out there. And like I was parking in. Of course, I parked in a meter just thinking it was fine, but then I get a $115 ticket because it's in a commercial zone. So you got to be cognizant of those. But I prefer. I drove a car here from California, and literally my first day here, I got 2 parking tickets, and I was like, you know what, this is not going to work. Especially if the meters outside my house are only 2 hours, it's not going to work. So I bought a garage for the month to put my car in, and I sold it before that month was up. But I love driving, especially in California. It was like my time to just like unwind and listen to music, podcasts, whatever. But now it's like kind of just that on the train. But most of the time it's hard to take the trains from shoot to shoot because you're walking 4 blocks or whatever from there. And I'm carrying around 2 or 3 Pelican cases at all time too. So
I know
Uber,
all about it.
Yeah, Uber is the best way around too. But those, especially now, those have been getting super expensive, but that's just what happens.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I know you had your own business back in California, and now you work for a bigger organization. So what are the major differences, running your own show versus now coming in and I don't want to say having to answer to somebody, but I guess, I mean, I don't know how hands-on Ryan is and if he okays every video that goes out and stuff like that, but I'm sure there's somebody that has to look and make set and give you the, okay, all right, this looks good, or, adjustments to edits, whatever the case is. How does that work?
Yeah, so the initial team for Ryan Serhant and his media side was 3 people: Adrian, Jason Puma, and Angeline. And so when I got there, they were the 3 main people that were basically like my supervisors. And so I came in there basically going straight to property tours. That's what they hired me for, and that's what I was good at. And so that's what I slipped into immediately. And so initially, it was just like sending those to Jason and Adrian, making sure those were all good. If Ryan was in the videos, then those would go by him before we put those out, because those are like his videos. But if it's any other agent, we just make sure it's all good internally, send that out, they review it, and then we just put it up on YouTube and stuff for them as well. But one of the biggest differences that I've seen from doing my own thing and then now here at a company is just like being with a team. And I found that super, super valuable for me, especially because I'm young and there's like so much like I have to learn. And so being with the team now is of so many different creative minds from so many different backgrounds too. It's really cool to see all of us like work together and each of our own creative skills kind of intertwine to make something that's really, really good. I mean, there's other differences too. Of course, I mean, there's times I miss like working for myself and like doing my own thing. And of course, like working for a company, like you're not going to get paid the same way you're going to get paid by doing your own thing. And that's something that I just knew from the get-go that like it wasn't going to be the same. And so like I took that like sacrifice, but at the same time, I don't really think of it as a sacrifice because I know that I'm learning so much that like it's not really about the money right now, because what I'm learning now will take me so many different places that the money is going to follow. And it's not even a thought really to me. But the teamwork aspect is really, really awesome. Having Ryan at the top and directing where he wants to go and where his creativity is going to go in the sense of the company and how we want to take real estate media to the next level too, because there's you can do your property tours and everything and you can put it all on social and make it all cool, but there might be a time where you plateau and then there's a point to where you need to innovate in some way and do something new. And so we've really done that for new developments, especially by making actual films for the launches of these new developments. Instead of just doing a regular property tour with Ryan, like we make real films out of them too. And so I can go in more in depth in that later, but like pros and cons, there's way more pros right now than cons of working with the team and everything. It's nice that I have more creative control as well, and that could be different from a lot of other companies. But because I basically direct and shoot and edit all these property tours, like I have like 99% creative control on it. And now we're planning, as we're expanding, we've like tripled our agent size since I've moved here. So my workload has gone from like 0 to 100 super fast. So, I mean, we're planning to hire people that will work with me on just property tours as well. And so that gives me more creative control and honing in really what we want to do with the brand and how these videos go out to people.
So I was going to ask, does Ryan work? Is he involved in all aspects? And does he, do you work together and is he creative, or is it more like he's an actor when he's on the set and you're producing him?
No, he's very creative in how he wants to convey the property and everything too. And like in the grand scheme of just like Serhant Studios as a whole, I mean, we have our weekly meetings with Ryan and everything, and we go over what our goals are and everything. But I mean, he is running a company and he's still making deals and everything too. So like he's involved as much as possible when it comes to his social and everything too. But he also knows that we're capable on our own, and so we have our little creative machine inside Serhant Studios that's all backed by Ryan and the brokerage, and that just like we both lift each other up that way. Great. So it's a good harmony. It hasn't been like clashing or anything. It's been very smooth, and the way we've grown within just Serhant Studios itself, we're at 9 people now, and that spans across people just working on the social media departments or working for just Ryan's social content personally, because he has his YouTube channel with 1.1 million subscribers, and then he has an Instagram with 1.5 million followers. So there's a lot to do there with posting daily and all that too. And we have a listed network, another YouTube series that we started under the brokerage, which highlights other agents and gives them their own show as well. And so we have a couple people that are dedicated to that. And so the team's growing, but it's a really, really good team. We're all super close and we all work together really well, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah, the structure you guys have going on is really cool, because I know for me personally, all my brokerage clients, what they do is essentially they outsource freelancers like myself to do all their content. So, you know, if you have a brokerage with, let's say, for example, 10 agents, right? Every agent's going to have different looking content across the board. Everything's going to look different. And by Ryan creating what he calls, I guess, Serhant Studio, and then offering you guys as content creators to all of his agents, basically all it does is accelerate his brand even more, because every agent is now producing the same type of photography and the same type of videos, and all the content going out for every Serhant agent looks the same.
Exactly. Yep. And that's just like the biggest value prop too, is because, I mean, as a broker joining the brokerage, you have an ad budget too. So it's, in the long run, it's significantly cheaper to go through us, and you're getting higher quality like per dollar, if we want to compare it like that, compared to getting freelance like photography, video, and social. And so by having it all in-house, it makes it cheaper for the brokerage. And at the same time too, it makes everything super cohesive. So no matter what, like if you want to work with the brokerage itself, every single agent is going to represent you almost the same, because you have that same media and marketing and collateral all together that gives you the same effect. But it's really cool to see, because not a lot of brokerages have that. And it's not like it's devaluing freelancing either. Like there's still a huge space for it, and not every single brokerage can have their own production company too. And there's small brokerages and everything too. And like our goal with Serhant Studios is to kind of build like a benchmark for the way real estate content is made. And if people want to, expand that into other places, they just kind of take the roadmap that we've been on and implement that in their own way and put their own creativity into that. And it's all just super like cohesive. And that's what I really like about it too.
Well, does Serhant Studios only do work for Serhant listings?
Yes, there are.
I mean, like if a Corcoran called you up and said, "Hey, I love what you guys are doing. Would you guys do some content for me?" No, get out of here.
Not like that. No, there's a couple Nest Seekers agents that were with Ryan's team before he left that are still there because they need to finish deals and whatever. And so we'll do videos for them, but that's like the only exception. But then like if you want to think about it like that way, the only other things we do is we work directly with development companies and for their projects and everything. Even though like Serhant may be representing them, we're still making content for them and everything too. And like with that new development side, we make pitch films for every single pitch every single development we pitch, because we want the developers, before they even sign us, to see like, this is the kind of content you're going to create. And so like, we have like, there's a couple weeks ago, there's a development that we were going to pitch, and it came super last minute, and they were like, hey, we need a film by Sunday night, and it was Thursday night. So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday to do it. And so I was at the office, and I was out shooting and everything. And we got the voiceover for Ryan and made this whole film that like no one's going to see because it's all internal. And, but it just shows the development company, this is what we do. This is how we do. And this is a little taste of what you're going to get, like if you sign us.
Awesome. Well, I know the content you're producing is top notch. I don't know if you posted it or Ryan posted it a week or two ago, the library video, but I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'll send it to you, Rich, after to watch. It was really, really well done and put together. Really, I guess that's your signature series, I'm assuming, because it was more thought out and.
Yeah, that's just one of our like things that we've implemented since I've got here too, and like just making these films for these developments, because especially in New York City, it's so easy to get lost in everything. There's so much real estate, there's so many things going on. Like you really have to do something to stand out in this city. And so if we can rent out a bookstore down the street, shoot in that, and then tell a story about this building that went from a public library to a church to now condos, if we can tell a story through that and make someone watch a 4.5 minute video that might like push them over the edge to fill out that information form, like we've done our job right. And like that video is one of the best that we've ever made, if not the best. And I'm super, super proud of that, that our whole team put that together and everything. And because of that, like it shows like we're now like 45% sold out within the first week. And there's 11 units. And so almost half of those are already gone, full ask, because a lot of people saw that video. And so it just goes to show that like making that initial investment into a film or into really high quality photography, like if you can convey that to an agent, to a development company, and show them with like statistics, like this is going to work. And then when it does, like, it's just that much of a better feeling, because you know that that's going to happen again, and they're going to come back to you, and more people are going to see that. And that's what's happening too. We've had so many people reach out to us because of that library video, that would want films made for their developments too. And so it's really cool to see everything come to fruition after like all this time of planning and saying, oh, it'd be so cool to make these films, but we just like don't have the like capacity to yet. But then like we upgraded all of our cameras to the Blackmagic's 6K Pros, and those things are machines for the price and everything too. And so like the combination of all of that, and like every single person's like the creativity to make that video, it made it really, really well. And I'm super proud of it.
You have the creative freedom, Cody, to say, hey, I want to get this camera, and trust me.
Yeah. And I was the one who I came in, and literally like a month later, I shot with a couple Blackmagics in California. I didn't own one, but I had a photographer colleague who did, and he would let me borrow it whenever I had a high end shoot and everything. And I just thought it was a great camera. So I got here, and they were all using Sony DSLRs, like A7S2s and A7 IIIs and stuff. And I was like, hey, like everyone uses these cameras. If we really want to make a splash, especially in like New York City, we should just go Blackmagic. Like it's just the cheapest but most cost-effective like alternative too. We pulled the trigger. We bought 3, and we have a bunch of lenses for them now, and gear and everything for it. And it's completely taken all of our content to the next level too. And it's not even like we're shooting everything in 6K either. We're shooting most of our stuff in 4K. But just knowing that we have that ability to shoot 6K when we want and stuff like that. But the Blackmagics have been amazing, and I couldn't recommend them more, especially for the price.
And when you go to shoot a big house, let's say something in the Hamptons for 10 million, 15 million, how many guys, what's your team? Who's coming out with you?
So
also, who does your still? assume you do only video. So who does your stills and what's your team like?
So right now, we don't offer any photography. So a lot of the photography is freelance, but a lot of the agents use Rich Kaplan, who's in New York City, and he's an amazing photographer. So it's not like we would want to take any of that away from him either, because he's amazing and he does a perfect job. But for something for these big places, it's around 3 people usually. Sorry, the light just went off again, but it's around 3 people. So there's one person shooting on the main cam. That's usually me. I just have the Blackmagic on the Ronin, and then Ryan's mic going straight to the camera. Most of the time we'll have a second camera, just a tight side angle, and then either a third person who's helping with lighting, whether that's bounce boards or diffusers, or he's helping me if I'm backing up, making sure I don't hit anything. Because one of the things I love a lot about like the way Ryan shot previously and the way we're shooting now is like everything is almost as one take as you can get, and we try to integrate like these seamless transitions between scenes and everything too, just to make it like as immersive as possible too, instead of just a bunch of super quick fast cuts and stuff like that. I mean, if the property calls for it, we'll do it, but a lot of the times it's longer, like one take shots with just a lot of B-roll to keep it interesting. But most of the time, if it's a bigger shoot like that, it's like 2 to 3 people. But any regular shoot, like I had a couple today, like a duplex 3-bedroom, just me going by myself.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, I don't know if you have any other questions, Rich, but this was a fun chat, and it's it's good to hear from someone so young, so well accomplished.
Yeah, really excited for you.
I appreciate it.
Let me ask you, because you are so young, and I guess the 3 of us are completely in different. We're all roughly about 20 years apart from each other. So that being said, what are your, I guess, short-term goals here, I guess, with Serhant, and maybe even more long-term in the next 10, 15 years?
Yeah,
in the real estate side.
I mean, I love what I'm doing now every single day, and I've gotten the opportunity to still be able to manage freelance work and everything too. But I think right now, like goal for Serhant, just grow our media team to where I'm not shooting and editing every single listing too, and to where we have the capacity to be able to brainstorm and be more creative too, instead of just knowing like we have this time crunch, we need to pump out these videos and stuff. And that's a short-term goal. I know that will be achieved within the next couple months too. But along with that, more long-term, I mean, like I look up to your work, Brian, a ton with the architectural work. That's something that I've always just found fascinating. And like the first time I stepped outside New York City, I was like, wow, everything is so different. And like one of the things you get in California, it's beautiful, but everything almost looks the same. You got a lot of these neighborhoods that all the houses look pretty much the same architecturally. The insides may be different, but on the outside, like all these buildings, and like especially our office is in Soho, and looking out and seeing these buildings from the 1800s, and then right next to it is a building that was built 6 months ago. It's really cool to see. And so I think if I can get into like the architectural, more interior design space too, like photo wise, like I shoot video every day, and I've kind of drifted away from photos since I've moved here, but I would love to just get back more into photos and kind of combine both photos and videos for architecture. But I know that I have so much time to do all that too. But I mean, I'm just looking forward to every single day because I know it's all gonna be different, and I'm super happy to have like peers like you guys that I can ask questions and that I can go to when I need it, and I appreciate it.
So, well, you're more than welcome to come along on any shoot I have in New York City. And
I will take you up on that.
All right, cool. Awesome. All right, let me give a quick last word from our friends at PhotoOp. We all know that PhotoOp is a leader in real estate photo editing, but did you also know that they offer video editing, virtual staging, property websites, photo delivery, virtual assistants, and more? Having all of your real estate marketing under one roof helps streamline your workflow so you could spend more time shooting spaces and less time behind your computer. Visit photoup.net/shooting spaces or click the PhotoUp link on the Shooting Spaces website to receive a $100 discount on your first full month of PhotoUp services. Also, make sure to mention Shooting Spaces when you sign up to receive 10 free credits to try out any PhotoUp services. Again, photoup.net/shooting spaces. And I guess with that, Cody, I want to thank you for coming on. Your story is, I think, very encouraging and inspiring, especially for some younger people out there that are just getting into the industry. And it goes to show, a little bit of hustle goes a long way, and it panned
Definitely.
out for you. So congratulations to you on landing your dream job at 18. That's pretty impressive.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it.
And along with that, it just shows you make your own luck. You're
100%.
It appears that from what you've said that you really worked hard and got creative, and everybody out there needs to do that. It's just not good enough to do the average to get a job or to get an opportunity, but you really got to hustle and be tenacious and like a pit bull and getting in there and getting it done. But man, and what about college? You going to college, Cody?
No, that was not even an option in my head. Like all those
Your
times.
parents okay with that?
Oh, they were on board with it. I mean, my dad, like he went to community college and everything too, but he went his own way and just worked, and that was kind of where I get it from too. But it was just never an option. I hate sitting down in a classroom, and I want to go out. I want to make my own mistakes. I want to learn on my own instead of having someone teach me something that was made 20 years ago. That's just kind of how I think about it. There's so many paths that need college, and go for it. But for me, I don't think it was necessary, but to each their own.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to say, everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Please, if you're not subscribed, do so. Check out shootingspaces.net, and we have webinars, presets, we get everything there. Please use the feature Ask the Guys, where you can record a 90-second question and we'll play it on the air, and might get somebody like Cody who's specifically in the specific answer that. And we're really looking forward to more interaction with our guests, our public and our guests. So thank you so much. And, thanks for joining us. And until next time, go out and shoot some big spaces.
This has been Shooting Spaces. For more episodes, visit shootingspacespodcast.com and visit our education site at shootingspaces.net.